Welcome back, my dear students. Before we go on, I want to explain to you why we're doing this. Well, of course, we're doing this just to make our application like 100% secure, right? Or almost 100%, and a lot more secure basically than what it is now. But one of the reasons why we're doing this, and I'm doing this, is because I notice first, I want to provide more value for the course. But second, I noticed that if somebody comes here now to our application and they know our database names, like thousands of you know my database names and table names, you can go ahead, basically create a query here and pull out information from the database and then log into to the website and basically delete information from there. You can do a lot of damage. Hackers can do a lot of damage. So in order for us to prevent that, and we cannot prevent that with MySQL RailsCase string, we can prevent some stuff, but we cannot prevent everything. With this prepare statements, we can, because it's not going to take external data. It's not going to take the external data. It's going to prepare it and then it's going to execute it inside the application. Okay, so it's going to be a different, it's going to be using a different process here than what it's going to use down below when I show you the next functions. Okay, so it's going to prevent all this stuff. It's really great. But anyway, let's continue with this. So we have statement number one, we have statement number one and statement number two. What else? Well, we don't need this guy here anymore. And we need a couple functions here. First of all, we need to detect to see which statement we're sending in. First of all, we got a couple variables, and it would be nice if we say, hey, listen, if the STMT1, if the STMT1 is ready, then I want you to do this for me. And this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing that for the statement number two as well, but let's do that for this one first. So we're going to say MySQLi STMT, and first function that we're going to be using for this is bind param. Okay, and this is going to take an argument. It's going to take this guy as an argument. The second argument is going to take the format that that placeholder is coming in. So we know that this format is an integer, right? So we put an I. If it was a string, we put an S. Okay, but we're putting an I on this one. Then we're going to give it the value of that placeholder, which is post category ID, I believe. Okay, and then we can just execute it, but we need another function for that. Okay, and the function is execute. Simple as that. What are we executing? Well, the variable there, stm, complicated variable name that I gave it. Okay, and now if we were inserting code or updating or something like that, this is done. But because we are fetching data, we have to go another step, and we have to say, listen, I want to bind the results from this statement, and it's gonna take as an argument what results are you binding, what are you getting out of it. Well, let's and you can see here the object, this guy here, and the mix of variables. Okay, so I'm going to grab one of these guys and I'm gonna paste them in here. Well, not one of them, all of them. I'm gonna put the dollar symbol on them. Okay, oops, that's a 4. Going too fast there, and this is post ID. There we go. Simple as that. And then of course you close it here. We're done with this one, right? But we need an else statement just in case this is not set. What else is set? Well, we got the second parameter set. I mean the second statement. So let's do that one, okay? Just copy all this, put it right here. Now we change this to 2, and now this is going to take 2 values. First we have an integer, and then we have a string here. So we say integer and then the string. What is the first integer? Which is, this is the first integer. What's the second one? The second one, where's the string? Because it's looking for a string as a second. So the string is going to be this guy here, published, which is a static stuff that we gave it there, value. Okay, simple as that. Now change this to 2, and if you guessed this one too, you're completely right. Okay, pretty simple. Now we're doing this here and we got to figure out how we can do this, because we have to change this. We have to change it to SMT, STMT actually. Sorry about that. I always get confused with this name. STMT. There we go. And then what do you think it's going to take? Is it going to take number one, statement number one, or statement number two? Which statement? Well, we don't know, right? So we got to make a functionality for this. We got to create some type of variable that symbolizes both, right? That means that references both. So just in case is number one, we assign it to this variable. And if it's number two, we assign it to the same variable, because variables change, right? So just make sure that you have your semicolon there. Okay, there we go then. And now all we have to do here is get this guy and put him right here. Look at that. Simple as that. So this is looking pretty good. I want you to digest this information. And we're just going to recap a little bit. If you understood it, go to the next lecture. But we're going to recap, and then we're going to go to the next lecture. We are preparing the statement. Of course, first we start with our new function that we created a couple lectures ago. We are starting with MySQLi prepare. We're preparing it with the first parameter as a connection. The second parameter is going to be the query with the placeholders, okay, because that's how prepare statements work. Then we assign whatever is coming back from them. If it works, we assign it to, this will come true or false. So you can put an if statement in here if you want to, okay. And if it doesn't work, then whatever, you just die the page, make sure it dies, and you report some type of error, and you can use MySQLi error for that, okay. Or I believe we have a function for that, confirm query. So you can use something like that. But now, guys, like I said, if you want more information about this, PHP.net website is a bunch more. But anyway, so we're doing the same thing for the second query here, or the second statement. But we have a different request here, because we are requesting for two conditions, with this one and this one. And of course, because here, let me see on publish. Here we cannot put a string here. We needed to make it a variable. So we can't really come and put this whole thing here, because it wouldn't work. It wouldn't take that. It has to be a variable. So that's why we created a variable here for that specific functionality right here. Okay. So once we have these statements, we're checking to see if statement number one is available. If not, then we have a statement number two, right? Or whatever else. But if statement number one is ready, we use this function to bind the statement number one, make sure it's cast into an integer, make sure that we put the data that we are supposedly receiving, we know that, and then the value of that placeholder there. Then we execute it. So this is in a different space, or it uses a different process, a different protocol than what it uses here. Okay, so that's why SQL ingestion cannot happen, because it prepares it and uses a different protocol. Once it comes here, it's using another one, because it's already doing this from inside the process. Okay, so then we're binding that data. Okay, we're telling it, listen, this is two separate processes. Basically, we're going to bind that statement to this data that we got, to that placeholder, and we know that placeholder is an integer. And then here we just execute it. And here, because we're just fetching those results. We're binding that statement to these variables. Okay, on the next lecture, we're going to end this, and we're going to make sure that it works 100%. See you in the next one. Take care.